Hello, everybody. Welcome back to On the Sidelines. I'm your host, Cameron Capobianco, and joined by me is who I like to consider the pioneer of Toronto FC. Well, one of them, you got guys like Danny Dicchio as well, but he is the author of his brand new book called Dero My Life. I just held that below. You guys can see that at first. But author of this brand new book, Dero My Life. Guys, check it out. It's a really good book. TFC legend, MLS veteran, Dwayne De Rosario. Dwayne, welcome to the show.
How you doing, man?
Doing good, man. Doing good. So glad
I'm gonna plug my my earphones in.
Absolutely.
Earphones over there. There, can you hear me better now?
Absolutely. That is so much better.
There we go. There we go. We're in business.
Again, Dwayne De Rosario, guys. Dwayne, welcome to the show.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining me. So my first question for you is, what made you want to become a professional soccer player?
Yeah, well, it actually playing football has deep roots in my family and our history and tradition and our culture. My parents left Guyana. They came to Toronto. My dad was a big lover of football, in particular South American Brazilian football, and he instilled that in myself, my brothers. Growing up in our community, that was the sport of choice, and my uncles played it, my whole family played it, and I just grew to love it more and more as I got older.
And my next question for you is, you got a little nickname going on. First part is, where did the nickname Dero come from?
Well, Dero came from the fans, really. I guess it's De Rosario, and they just call me Dero for short. But, that's what the fans call me, and I embrace it. I like it, and it's grown.
Did anybody get confused maybe with you and DeMar DeRozan, former Toronto Raptor?
Yeah, at times, because he was called Dero at one point too, but I want to say I was the first. I was the original Dero. But it's nice to know that your name is connected with a person of that stature.
Absolutely. So my question for you is, Dero, we're gonna go to the book quickly, your biography about your life and everything. First off, what influenced you to write Dero My Life?
Well, actually, I started writing my book myself, and I just kept hitting what you call, I guess, writer's blocks. And I couldn't find, I didn't know where to go from there. And at that same time, Brendan Dunlap approached me, asked me about the idea of writing my book and telling my story. And we just sat down and I started telling my story. And everything just kind of worked out from there. Trust me, it was far easier telling him my story than it was trying to write it. But, we started in 2016 and we completed in 2021, actually.
Absolutely. So far, again, I am enjoying this book right now. I think I'm about halfway done. It's a great story to read from you. So shout out to you and your book. It's a really good one to read.
Thank you.
So actually, I'm going to go back to the book too. And at the beginning, obviously, you talked about growing up. It didn't seem like it was easy for you. Your soccer career also could have ended before it started as a child. How did it shape you into the player you are today?
Certain experiences, the trials and tribulations, the struggles that one goes through at a young age is very similar to the struggles and tests you'll get as a young professional, aspiring professional. Coaching not liking you, losing a little trust in yourself, maybe losing a little bit of self-belief. And it was through my environment. I've always, maintained it, always have a firm belief in myself. And I came from the support again of my father, who always instilled me to play my game and play a way I love to play. I grew up playing a very street style of soccer, very expressive, expressing myself. And that's something I always wanted to embrace anytime I touched the pitch and showcase my talent, but showcase my expression and self-expression. And thankfully it's worked out.
Absolutely. So you also tried out for AC Milan overseas and met Edgar Davids, and he said to you, you wouldn't make the team. After you made the team, but you chose not to sign. How did you let those words from Edgar not impact you?
I mean, at the time, I was 15, so it definitely I did feel a little ways about it. But, I grew up in an environment, when you grow up in inner city communities, you're fighting for everything. Me and my brother fighting for the last toast, last bread. We're fighting for, who's going to win. And, kids in our community, we're very competitive when you grow up in those environments. So how we used to compete is also using our words, and try to put the other guy down and try to make them feel less than. So, when Edgar said that, it was obviously disappointed, but, in one respect, he was right. What does a team like a club like AC Milan want with a young Canadian? At that time, we weren't really making a lot of noise in the international level, especially at, massive like that. And, here's the inner city kid just coming to a place like AC Milan. And, but again, I used it for fuel and I used it to prove to them why I belonged, and then I remember 2 days later, we actually played against the first team. And I received the pass from one of my players and I did what they call a dummy. And it went through Maldini's legs, which is, a bit embarrassing. And then actually went through Bracy's legs. And then Maldini came and two-footed me. So I knew very quickly that, you gotta have respect for the elders. So it was a lesson that I learned, and I definitely has helped me develop to be the man I am today.
Absolutely. Well, obviously, Paolo Maldini, one of the best defenders in the world of football, classifies himself along with Alessandro Nesta, all those guys. Even we're going to talk about Alphonso Davies today being up there possibly as one of the best defenders in the world. But how did playing overseas and in Canada help prepare you for where you were before you retired, playing in the MLS and that stuff?
Well, having that experience to play in Germany was super competitive, right? Because guys, every day you're fighting, the coaches fighting for their jobs, you're fighting for spots, you're fighting for promotion, relegation. So it was unique in that respect. Everything's super competitive. But thankfully, when I went to MLS with the Earthquakes, a lot of those guys were coming from European clubs or having experience in the European game, and we were all very super competitive, and we brought that same competitiveness to the Earthquakes. And of course, playing with fellow Canadian coach Frank Yallop only helped, to fuel my passion as a proud Canadian. I wanted to do well for our coach, and the recipe for success was written all over our team, and that's why we won that year. And we're MLS champions.
Well, you just didn't win 1 year; you won 2 years with San Jose. You won a second one, and you won 2 more with the Houston Dynamo. But on top of that, in your first year, let's focus on that. You won the MLS Cup championship along with MLS Cup MVP honors. Describe to me what it was like stepping on the pitch for not only just your first season as an MLS player, but also in that finals in San Jose.
Well, it was a dream come true, because when I left Germany, it didn't go the way I anticipated. So I was kind of in limbo, and then I had to make a decision to go to Richmond Kickers, who I knew had affiliation with DC United, but the whole play was to get to MLS. And of course, in the MLS market, they didn't know much about me. So, to have that opportunity now to step on that field, just look back at all the sacrifices and the moves that I made to get there was a rewarding feeling. And, again, I tell it in my book, and it just shows you sometimes you have to, what seems like maybe a step backwards is actually could be a potential step forward if you approach it with the right discipline and respect. And that's where I went to Richmond. I went there to Richmond to destroy and to plant my name and to get a spot in MLS, and it worked out that way, thankfully. And of course, having, as I said, Frank Yallop as a coach only helped fuel my passion even more to do well. But anytime you step on the professional stage, all your hard work, all your commitment, all the days you put in where nobody was looking and sacrifices you made, it's a rewarding feeling.
So let's talk about Houston a bit too. What was it like going from the San Jose Earthquake, where you won 2 championships, an MLS Cup MVP, to going to Houston, where you won 2 more MLS Cups along with that? What was the differences between the teams when you did that transition over?
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't much. I mean, it was pretty much our Earthquakes team that got relocated. So it was time where I think all of us were like, okay, are we staying? Are we going? For the last 2-3 years in San Jose, they were talking about relocating the team. So I think when they finally announced they were relocating, I think it put an ease to everybody's mind, even though it was a quick transition for all of us. But thankfully, the earthquakes, Dynamo organization did a fantastic job of having everything in place. So when we got there, it was like seamless. Our stuff got shipped. We found a place to live, and it was like right back to business. And I think that actual move brought that team environment and our team culture tighter, and we came together because all the families got together and we're asking who's moving where, and it really brought the team bonding together quite nicely. And again, I really think that helped fuel our success that year as well.
So let's talk about 2009 and what a big year was for you as a Canadian kid coming home to Toronto, playing for, at the time, a new team in MLS, the Toronto FC. What was it like? What was your reaction to when you found out, hey, I'm getting moved to Toronto and that?
Listen, it was difficult. I was leaving a two-time MLS Cup champion team, but it was my decision. It was my decision that I had a conversation with Dominic Canary, who was my coach at the time. Mo Johnson had expressed interest. It was a tough decision. I can't lie. I mean, I wanted to come home. I wanted to have an impact. I wanted to make a difference. It was frustrating looking at that team and not get the success they want. And knowing the fan base and knowing the rich history and the culture, passion for soccer in Toronto, in the GTA, across Ontario, I felt like it was time for me to go home and to try to help my city win a championship. And I was very fortunate to have the opportunity to do that with the Canadian Cup.
You won 2 of those, obviously, and also on top of that, you were named the 2nd captain in Toronto FC history. What was it like being named captain?
It's an honor, man. Anytime you captain your city, you represent your country, it's always a huge honor, especially, when I put that captain's armband and leading our team out onto the field every weekend, every game. It's more than just an armband. There's a responsibility there, especially being a local guy, that I felt. I felt the weight of the fans. I felt the weight of the organization, and also my pressure for myself of being a super competitive athlete, wanting to win at any given cost. So, but it was one that I embraced, one that I was very honored to accept. Especially taking it from a fellow teammate of mine, player Jimmy Brennan, and I just wanted to represent my city and my community in the best way possible.
Did you have any favorite chants when you stepped onto BMO Field, when you heard from the supporter section of that stuff? Like, maybe when the Reds go marching in, the chant?
For sure. Oh, when the Reds.
That, or you had a chant too there, too.
Oh, when the Reds.
Yeah. There was your name. There was Danny Dikio as the first goal.
Yeah. And the fans really make you guys make the culture. You guys make the club what it is. And I knew that every time I stepped on that field, you guys weathered a lot of storms with that club. You stayed committed. You stayed true to the city. And when I stepped on that field, I just wanted to give you my 100% every time.
Absolutely. And on top of that, with playing for a Canadian team in Toronto, you also represented Canada internationally too at the international stage, World Cup qualifiers, international friendlies. Who are some teams, players that you enjoyed facing at that international stage?
Anytime you put on that Canadian jersey, it's a huge, massive honor, especially coming from an inner city community, Scarborough, and and being at the world stage. So I took every time I put on that jersey as a huge honor. And obviously, when you play World Cup qualifier matches, there's nothing like it. The environment's unbelievable, and winning the Gold Cup was also a special moment. But since my first stints when Leonard Uzi was there, and as a young kid, it was just surreal to be looking up at Bunbury and Pescalito and all these guys. Guys that were Jeff Onger, Frank Yallop, and it was Randy Samuels, a guy that was with the '86 team, and just them sharing their stories and experiences was amazing.
And you also have your own academy called, I believe it's called Dero TFC Academy. It's linked with Toronto
Correct.
FC as well. Funny enough, a former Toronto State player linking his academy with Toronto FC. That's always funny to see. What made you want to start that academy?
What made me want to start it?
What made you want to start that academy or like become a coach in that stuff?
Well, again, I just felt like it was important for me to give back to the youth. That, when I look back at my childhood, my father and other people inspired me. I never had a professional athlete come and speak to our team. I never had a professional athlete coach me. So I felt it was important for me to give back to the next generation and give them and instill some of the experiences and lessons that I've learned to help them navigate through this pro world that a lot of them will be and what it takes. So for me, the most important thing in my academy is respect, discipline, hard work, and commitment before anything else. And before we raise young professionals and young athletes, we have to first identify the fact that we're raising young men and young citizens and young women. So that's first and foremost. So I enjoy it, I love it, I embrace it, and I'm happy to now be a part of the TFC brand and to help further create pathways for our youth.
So we kind of lost that first part, Dwayne. You mind just repeating the first part about it, like getting back to I heard about getting back to the community and that stuff. Do you mind just repeating after what happened? Because we kind of lost you there a bit.
In terms of which part again?
The part where you said, what was it about getting back? It was pretty much the beginning, getting back to the community and that stuff. Just getting back to
the so the reason why I wanted to start my academy was to give back to the youth and share some of the experiences that I've experienced through my journey, and pass that knowledge on to them so they could be better equipped, better prepared for what this world of professional is about. It's not always going to be sweet. It's not always going to be sugar coated. There's going to be difficult moments, and you got to learn how to overcome it. The only way you can is with a strong, disciplined mind.
Absolutely. And let's get this out of the way. Does anybody try and school you at that academy, trying to tell you with these new tricks and that stuff that the game has been evolving with?
Yeah, of course. I would try to do the same thing. They're in a position now when I'm there, you have opportunity to showcase your talent. So I wouldn't want anything less. They need to do that. They need to have that mentality. Anytime they step on that field, it's a time for them to grow and improve. So I love the challenge.
Absolutely. Dwayne, my last question for you here is, what are some pieces of advice you can give to young kids who want to follow in the same journey that you went on?
Yeah, say your own picture, however you want it to work out. It's gonna be bumpy. It's gonna be rough times, but those times are the one that build character. Those times that help you to become the man that you are, and you got to overcome it. Turn the negative into positive, and always think in a positive light. And usually things will work out. But definitely have to work hard, stay determined, set goals for yourself, short-term, long-term goals, and stay true to those goals and that commitment towards that journey.
Absolutely. Dwayne, I want to say not just thank you for joining me today on the sidelines to talk about your football career, your book, your academy. I want to say thank you for everything you've done in the soccer community here in Canada, in Toronto, a Toronto FC legend, getting me into loving this local team. It's really been a true honor and a privilege to be watching you on the pitch every time you step on.
You're welcome, man. I appreciate those kind words, and let's go Canada. We have a big year ahead of us, and I hope we do well, and also a big year for TFC. So I'm excited to 2022 has to offer.
Absolutely, I am too, guys. Dwayne De Rosario, MLS veteran, Toronto FC legend, and author of his brand new book, Dero My Life. You got to read it, guys. I'm gonna put it in front of my face so you all can see it. You all have to read it. It's an amazing book. Trust me. And
you can get in any major bookstore.
Pardon? Sorry?
I say you could get it in any major bookstore.
Absolutely. Indigo, wherever you want to go, you can get it. You can even get it online, I believe. Right, Dwayne? Correct me if I'm wrong.
That's right. DwayneDeRosario.com.
Absolutely. And also, I forgot to mention, too, one more thing. Founder of his Dero TFC Academy, I'm Cameron Capobianco, and we'll catch you guys next time.